So the Renault Zoe Day 2, as you've noticed, the interior decor has changed slightly. That's just because I'm in my oil burning traditional engined car. I have to take it to the garage for its 30,000 kilometre service. I don't know how much that's going to cost me yet. Oil changes, fluids, maintenance, you know, the typical checkup. 1 year old, 30,000 kilometres. I wonder how those electric cars are going to be for maintenance. Theoretically, there's nothing really to do. Fluid checks, coolant, windscreen washers, brakes, stuff like that. Electronic checks. I'm curious how it pans out with those. Anyway, charging. It took over 10 hours to get to 100%. It's 100% now. I plugged it in with something like 44% still on the battery, and it still took over 10 hours on a 240 volt house socket. Exactly the same socket and extension cable that I used for the BMW i3, which charged in about half the time. So that's not really a plus point for Renault. Their charger could be higher capacity. I was warned that it can pull a lot of power, and it will give an error if it's pulling too much power. But that was the same with the BMW charger, and it had no problems. So strongly recommended if you're going to have a Zoe on your driveway, have the Renault War charger fitted, because you're not going to rely on a 240 volt socket if you want to get home, top up and get out again with a full charge. I could do that with the i3. I can't do that with the Zoe. A bit of a shame. I looked up a little bit the facts and figures on the Zoe. This is the older model, unfortunately. The newer one goes at €24,000. The i3 was 45,000. That's a fair whack of difference. But the batteries on the Zoe are rented, compulsory rent, €142 a month, based on my 30,000 kilometre per annum driving. So that soon adds up. On the other hand, you've got no worries about batteries. If anything fails, I suppose they just replace them. If the capacity drops below 75% or so, they probably replace them, as they're rented, they're not owned. It's a good way of getting the initial purchase price of the car down. Plus, of course, you have subsidies on top of that, which are still available here in Belgium for the moment, I guess. So that's a fair whack of difference in initial outlay. You need to get a War charger, so that will cost you extra. Bits and pieces on there are standard. This was the top spec one, I think, with a reversing camera and what have you. 88 horsepower, I believe. The i3 was 170, I think. So it's difficult to compare. They're like apples and pears in a way, although they're both electric vehicles. Anyway, I'm going to take my old dinosaur off to the garage to get an oil change, and I'll be driving the Zoe some more later. See you for now.